Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Positive Planet podcast. This is a new series where we invite industry professionals to come and chat to us about a wide range of relevant topics, share knowledge with us, and more importantly, share some insights to you guys tuning in. So, this is episode 4, and today we're going to talk about nature-based solutions and how do they play a part in our journey to net zero. We've still got some more podcasts to come in this series, so make sure that you look at our LinkedIn page for those. Also, we'll try and share some information on those podcasts coming up in today's podcast as well. But today we are joined by some really great people. My name's Emily and I'm obviously from Positive Planet, but I'm really happy to introduce you to Jim from Karma. Hi, Jim. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks, Emily. Great to be here. Great to be representing Karma and great to be partnered with Positive Planet.
Thanks, Jim. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And we've got Dakini and Yumea from Anansi. Hi, both. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, really good. Thank you.
Yeah,
So
really good to be here.
Oh, fantastic. It's so good to have you all here today. Thank you all so much for giving up your time to come and talk to us. For everybody tuning in, don't be shy. Please make sure you put some questions in throughout the podcast. We love questions. We love to talk to you about what, our industry and how you can come onto that journey to net zero with us. But without further ado, let's go straight into it. So at Positive Planet, we obviously specialize in the measurement of carbon emissions, the reduction of carbon emissions, and we know that the importance, to take a business on the journey to net zero is imperative. But when we're talking about nature-based solutions, can you tell me about the nature-based solutions that you offer and how they help us towards the journey to net zero? And if it's okay, I'll come to you first on that one, Jim.
Yeah, thank you, Emily. What a great question. And at Karma, which is short for Carbon Karma, we love using nature-based solutions. We make social and environmental impact accessible to all. And we do this by planting trees. And we plant trees in the UK. We work with the Green Task Force, which employs veterans and service leavers, providing them with positive pathways to employment through nature-based tasks. We also work with some of the most impoverished communities, helping with their social mobility. When you plant trees, 3 wonderful things happen. First of all, you employ someone to do it. So you help them with their social mobility and that feeling of self-worth and being able to have a job, put dinner on the table. And of course, when you plant a tree, you get net biodiversity gain. So creatures, animals live in the tree. It becomes their natural habitat. And of course, over time, the tree absorbs CO2 and breathes oxygen. So it's definitely a nature-based solution that we offer at Karma.
That's amazing. I mean, the passion for Karma shines through every time you talk about it. But something I'd like to just know a little bit more about is that social element. You mentioned that you're working with veterans and service leavers. Where did that come from? Why is that in Karma's business model?
Well, I am a veteran. So I spent 13 years in His Majesty's Royal Navy. I left in 2002 and I struggled on my resettlement journey. When you leave the armed forces, you lose 3 things overnight: your forces family, your purpose, and your identity. And if you can't compensate for those things, 3 things, quite quickly, you start on a steady slope downhill mentally. And I struggled for 4 years. I was very lucky. I got a hand up, got a corporate job in Vodafone. I was working at Vodafone, Sky, Manchester Airport Group. And when I was made redundant, I had a little bit of time on my hands and over COVID, and got together with some old Royal Navy Rugby League teammates, and we formed a charity called In Touch Royal Navy Rugby League, which is built on 3 pillars: reset, reconnect, and relive. And through that reconnect process, I've reconnected with Dr. Andrew Steele, who's the founder of the Green Task Force. And when he told me about all the wonderful work they're doing with the Green Task Force, working with veterans, great for the mental health, great for getting them qualified, great for getting them back into work, I said to him, how can I help? And here we are 2.5 years later on. We've planted thousands of trees in the UK and hundreds of thousands of trees all around the world.
Absolutely amazing story. Thanks for sharing that, Jim. Yumea, then, if I can come to you. So what nature-based solutions do you offer at Anansi, and how do they help us achieve net zero?
First and foremost, it's really lovely to be here. Thanks for having us in the room. So at Anansi, we foster partnerships between companies and environmental projects that focus on nature-based solutions. So say over the past 2 years, predominantly the projects we've worked on have been regenerating wetlands and kind of like water-based systems. But what does a partnership look like, and how does the process go? We first work with the client, we'll review their ESG goals, what they've done previously in sustainability, and where they'd like to be. And then we, through the partnership, we obviously improve the reputation of the business, and reduce carbon emissions nationally in a sustainable way. But the partnership itself, the other benefits that it kind of gives is connecting advocates across a company. So people that may not necessarily speak to one another, and kind of fostering relationships that way. And then we also help with their marketing and communication. So we'll create strategy that we can help them deliver, and we offer that ESG marketing and kind of upskilling workshops to bring everyone to the same page within the company. And then we also do impact days, so like echoing a little bit of what Jim said there. Those kind of hands-on experiences for people really provides them with the well-being benefits, and gets them like we're just really engaged and understand what their company's doing and why they're partnering with this project.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, I know that a key part of what you guys do is the storytelling element, you know, and why is the storytelling element so important? Dakini, can you give a bit more information on that?
Absolutely. We really believe in the power of storytelling. And one of the things we were inspired by, actually, from one of your previous podcasts, was why 98% of sustainability programs fail. And from what I understood, it's a lack of communication, it's a lack of advocacy. And so we use storytelling for good to build communication that's aligned to ESG goals and advocacy across the company and actually through the customer base as well. So, storytelling, the power of it is as old as time, but we believe we can use it for good today with our clients to help create advocates and better communication.
Do you know what's really lovely is we've just spoken about nature-based solutions and how they can help in the journey to net zero, but lots of positive words were coming out of it about social aspects and being a force for good. And it's always it's great to work for a company like Positive Planet and partner with you guys, because that's exactly what we stand for. So I think we're all agreed, we're on the same page that the journey to net zero is very important. I guess something that you guys who are tuning in today could do, you could actually go to download our Net Zero Roadmap. And you can do that by going to www.netzeroroadmap.uk. And that should give you some insights into how you can start your journey as a business towards net zero. So hopefully you guys will get some good content from there. So if we've spoken about nature-based solutions and how they can help us in the journey to net zero, but something that I want to go on to is maybe it's seen as a bit of a taboo subject sometimes. So offsetting has had mixed reviews and opinions from industry over the last few months. In particular, at Positive Planet, we work with our clients and try and push them to reduce their emissions and use, instead of mitigating against them and offsetting all the time, make sure they're reducing their emissions in-house. This is something that we do, but we do recognize that mitigating against emissions is important also. I would just like to know, why is a nature-based solution so much more than an offset? And if I can come to you first on that one, Yumea, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. In my opinion, nature-based solutions are a lot more than offsetting, just because of the multiple benefits that they can provide. For individual companies, individuals themselves, and as a nation, us being on our journey to net zero, and why work like yourselves that Positive Planet do is so important, is that you will really plan that process. So first and foremost, I know this is important to you guys, reduction is the first step you take. And then something like offsetting come later down the line. Nature-based solutions can be a one solution, say, to the emissions factor of that, but our climate issues themselves are so complex, and so solutions have to be just as diverse and just as complex to kind of work holistically as a whole. In my opinion, nature is pretty perfect in the way that it functions. There's been a lot of imbalances, the way that we as humans function in our modern world. And so I think it's having to just rebalance that and utilize those systems that are already there, but for modern day issues.
So I love that you said that nature is pretty much perfect. So can you give us some examples how we can use nature to our advantage?
Yeah, sure. So I've seen all sorts. There's kind of say sewage and waste treatment plants that function without chemicals but can process in about 24 hours. Or say there's flood prevention, which would be really beneficial for like insurance companies to invest in, of coastlines that also don't deplete the biodiversity there. I've also seen this amazing project going up to in like kind of the northeast. It's like poulticulture. So a lot of modern agriculture is working in areas that have previously been peatland that's been drained. Peatland is amazing for carbon storage, but having these crops growing there means that those systems cannot function in that way anymore. We're losing and we have lost loads of carbon stores. So there's this project that is looking at how they can grow crops on already re-wetted peatland. Can you have this dual purpose where you can still provide something that we need? We need food, we need to grow kind of our resources in that way, but can you also still retain the benefits of doing a peatland? Something like that. So it's looking at these like complex issues, because in a country like England and UK as an island, we're not massive. We don't have loads of land to use. If we're going to kind of regenerate these environments, we need to look at, well, why have them been changed, and is there a way that we can still retain some of that competition for that land, but also get it to function in a more healthy way for people and planet.
Yeah, it's just amazing to hear about certain projects like that. It blows my mind sometimes how we've got the solution on our doorstep in most instances, and it's great that we're starting to really see that and utilize that. So Jim, if I can come to you then, so why is using Karma so much more than offsetting?
It's so much more than offsetting. And just following on from what Yumea was saying, nature is perfect. And of course, human beings are part of nature. There is a problem, but of course, we're part of the solution. And we often talk about reduce, reuse, recycle, the 3 R's. At Karma, we call ourselves the 4th R. We give people the opportunity to replant. And by replanting, I mean, we're not saying don't reduce, reuse, recycle, but there's only so far you can go. And whatever you do, there's an irreducible carbon footprint. So for somehow you're going to have to compensate for that. Replanting trees, giving back to nature, putting a tree in the ground, which will help with biodiversity, help with social mobility, and of course, over time, compensate for all that carbon that we're creating. There's a definite incrementality there. And we've come up with 3 solutions to address this. First of all, we've got corporate tree planting days. You can come and join the team of veterans. I could even host it for you out in the field, planting trees. We've planted up to 5,000 trees in one day. Amazing events. We've also got a product we call Tree Commerce. So for every good or service you provide as a business, you can give a little bit back to nature by planting a tree. And of course, we've got subscriptions. Subscriptions are every single month, whether you're an individual or a business, you can subscribe and we'll plant trees on your behalf. And you can demonstrate that to your customers, friends, family, whoever you want, about the impact you're making from the palm of your hand, from your phone, could be your laptop, could be your tablet. And then you can have impact immediately by planting trees.
That's brilliant. So something that sometimes worries people about offsetting is the actual tracking of the projects, and how do they know the trees have been planted, and how do they know that the trees are still there? So what's Karma's answer to that?
The answer is the impact dashboard. So we've got a dashboard that will tell you exactly where your trees have been planted, when they were planted, what species they are, how long they've been there. Of course, we plant in the UK, they're really easy to track because invariably I'm there when they're planted. So I could walk you up to the tree, you know exactly what species, how long it's been there, and who it was sponsored by. Overseas, we've just partnered with a company called Veritree, which is short for verified trees. Guess what they do? They verify the trees that go in the ground. Every single tree is blockchain encrypted, so it can't be sold twice. And the people who plant the trees, the people on the ground, they're all given smartphones. They're given smartphones for two reasons, so that when they're paid in digital currency. So we know that the people who are planting the trees are getting compensated for doing that. And of course, because they've got smartphones, that brings up a real rich picture. We track them as they're being planted. We get photographs, we get video stories, and over time, as the trees have been tended, we know the trees are still there, whether that's in the shallow mangroves, in the sea, reclaiming the land. So we've got a real rich picture of everything that's going on, which can be easily accessed by the Karma Impact Dashboard.
I think that's just a really good solution. So they can literally see where the tree is planted and the type of tree and the age of tree and everything, right? So how passionate are you about tree species? Do you know everything about tree species now, Jim? Did you ever think that you would be in a position to know that much?
Well, every day is a school day, Emily, and I was really shocked the first time we planted on an acre of land up in Yorkshire. I didn't really know what to expect. It's over 2 years ago, and we turned up. We'd got the burger van there, we got the toilet, the team turned up, and then all of a sudden the trees turned up on the back of the van. There was 13 different species. Some evergreens, we got Scots pine in there, we got holly. There was 3 different types of oak tree that I didn't even know existed. I thought an oak was an oak, but there's 3 different species of oak trees. We'd got trees like alder, which grow in the wetter parts of the field. And when we do a tree planting day, we do an agricultural survey, we do an archaeological survey, the drainage report, and it spits out an ecological report that says which type of trees will take best in that given land, which spits out the species. And like I said, 13 different species in 1 acre. I can't wait to see that wood in a few years' time.
Amazing. Well, yeah, I'll come to you if I need some, advice about what to put in my garden, Jim.
Well,
okay.
I was just about to say, Dr. Andrew Steele, he is I call him a tree ball. He knows everything about trees. So yeah, I'll pass you his way, Emily.
Okay. Brilliant. Well, don't forget to ask questions in the chat, guys. If you've got any questions at all, I know somebody's asking if the session will be recorded. Yes, and we can share that at any date. So don't worry too much if you have to jump out 5 minutes early or so. So just to move on then, I think it's important that we, everybody can connect with us on LinkedIn. Our business page is accessible to you guys. But if you want to call with us, you can do that by just going to www.netzerocall.uk, and then you can have a call with us and we'll talk to you about, helping you on your journey to net zero as well. So one of the final points that I'd like to talk about then is we've spoken about how nature-based solutions feed into the net zero journey. We've spoken about how there's so much more than just an offsetting solution. But I guess something that I want to know a little bit more about is corporate partnerships. So what are the benefits of supporting a nature-based solution through a corporate partnership, and what can businesses expect to realise? Darkini, can I come to you on that one, please?
Absolutely. I think corporates can experience a bunch of benefits, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But from a research and like charitable partnership side of things, there's a huge funding gap, and it's something that Yamaya, being from a scientific background, has educated me on. And so with both of our kind of experiences, what we're trying to help provide is closing the funding gap for vital research, which is going to help us as a country get to net zero and help these specific charities achieve some of their goals. We're never going to get the perfect solution until the right scientific research is done. And as data continues to come out about environmental impact and some of the solutions that we thought were going to work, much like offsetting, we're starting to realize that we need much more sophisticated solutions to help companies and charities, create environmental solutions. So that's just something. But, I guess on the corporate side of things, as a business, we've found companies have got huge boosted earned media from it. We've seen them finding the right charitable partners, some that they didn't even know existed. And when we talk about the right partnership from a corporate perspective, we're looking at long-term successful impact from the money that they're putting into those partners. The money that they're putting into those partners is getting spent on important research that they can measure, but also there's a synergy between the two, right? So you might have a partner and a charity who actually have shared skills that they can transfer across. So it's those sorts of things that we're seeing as a real benefit. But ultimately, that synergy and integrating, this partnership into a business long term is something that we see as, I guess, a successful partnership and something that helps companies achieve their ESG goals.
Yeah, so you mentioned an ESG there, and obviously most people will know what we mean by ESG at this point. But how important is it in putting ESG at the center of what a business does? How important is that?
Well, it's hugely important to us as a country with the UK's net zero goals 2050. It's hugely important to most businesses where ESG is on a roadmap to growth, but sometimes is siloed. And then you see, a lack of success, a lack of progress, and actually a lack of advocacy internally. One of the most important things for most businesses is getting everybody on the journey to net zero, or getting everybody on the journey to your ESG targets. It's pointless creating a little team in the corner. What we try and do is pull advocates across the business. And what we find is when we work with companies, whether we're doing marketing workshops or whether we're doing impact days, as Jim mentioned, you get this great sort of cross-pollination of ideas and people getting excited about, a company's ESG goals. Stakeholder engagement is hugely important to the success of any business, but especially when it comes to ESG. So yeah, that's how we approach it and the kind of things we're seeing.
Yeah, and I think it is critical. Something that you said there is that, cross-functional engagement, and it's something that we know in Positive Planet works really well. It's better to have a mix of people in the room, mix of opinions, and to get them all on the same page. It works really well, and then hopefully pushes the direction of the business much quicker.
Absolutely. I think that one other thing is just making sure senior leadership is in every conversation. You cannot create real change without those people, but as well as having conversations with all corners of your business and your customer base too. So absolutely, bring everyone in the room if you can.
Yeah, definitely. Brilliant. Thank you, Dakini. So is it okay, Jim, if I come to you? So just to retouch on the question there, what is it about Karma that a corporate partnership could walk away? What are the benefits to a corporate partnership of working with you?
Absolutely. And we've got some wonderful corporate partners, and the benefits are many, but I'm going to split them down into three segments. First of all, people. Secondly, business. And finally, and maybe most importantly, the planet. And for people, the mental health benefits. Working with one company, they came out in the field and they absolutely loved it. You could see they were getting lots from connecting with each other. They were connecting with nature. That team building and bonding experience they get when they come and do a corporate tree planting day is second to none. They're connecting with each other. They're connecting with nature. They're working with the veterans. They're out there in all weathers. It has rained on us quite a few times, but they're really getting the sleeves up, committed to doing what they're doing, making an impact and getting the job done. And then we come on to business. So first of all, you're sending the right signals to the market and your teams internally, telling your employees that you're doing great things, you're planting trees, you're helping society, you're actually having an impact with nature. The same applies for customers, whether they're existing customers, so it might be a great tool for retention to plant trees, or when you're trying to win new business, win new clients. So this is what we're doing in that ESG space, because so many people I talk to, you ask them what they're doing, what they've done, and it's quite obvious that a lot of people are just thinking about it. They're doing nothing, they've got nothing planned, and they've done nothing. And it's really important to start doing, stop saying. And of course, for the planet, you've got that net biodiversity again. You put a tree in, creatures, it becomes their natural habitat. You get that incrementality. The trees wouldn't have been planted unless you're committed to doing it. The trees breathe out oxygen, they sequester CO2, massive benefits to planting trees. So again, great benefits for people, great benefit for business. We always say, plant trees, grow your business. And for planet, of course, you've got loads of benefit for the planet.
Amazing. Thanks, Jim. Can you give us a snippet of what a corporate client has fed back to you after taking part in one of your impact days?
Absolutely. I'll give you 2 snippets. So the first of all was a large high street coffee company. They came and planted with us, and 10 people. I was fortunate enough to be planting with the vice president, and she said after an hour, "Look at these people. We got 3 teams of 3 people." I said, "Well, yeah, they're planting trees." She said, "Yeah, but they don't normally work together. You put these guys in the boardroom, you know, it's everyone's got an agenda. It's great to see them working with a shared purpose, doing something." And they all loved it. They've been back and planted with us again since. Another company, a large distribution company in the UK, they came and planted, and I asked for some on-the-spot feedback. I said, how did you find it? And he said, "Look, Jim, what we've paid, I would have paid 4 times more than what I've paid for what we've got out of today. But not only that, the story we're going to tell internally about all the good we've done, the story we're going to tell all our clients, we're going to use the impact dashboard, and we're going to use it to win more business." Costs. ESG is the new health and safety. 25 years ago, health and safety was optional. ESG feels a bit like that now, but increasingly companies are using it to win more and more business, demonstrating that they're giving back to people and planet in their tenders, winning a business. We've got some real live examples of that.
Amazing. So 4 times as much, Jim. Did you take away that feedback and do anything with it?
Well, next time he planted with us, it wasn't the same price. That's all I'm going to say, Emily.
Brilliant. Well, I'm great. I'm happy to see we've had some questions in the chat, so I'll direct these to you guys. The first one then. So do you think that the government's backtrack or changes to net zero targets impact how business approaches their ESG and net zero goals? Can I come to you, Darkini, on that one? Have you got that? What do you think?
I think it's really hard to keep momentum if government and legislation isn't taken seriously. So yes, I think the impact is potentially businesses don't take the net zero target seriously. Potentially they don't invest, because I think the fear of legislation or legislation itself can really get things going. So yeah, I do think the changes are difficult. And I think also it makes you question the authenticity of government and how important the environment is to them. So yes, sadly, I do think it does impact it. However, any PR is good PR, apparently. So these conversations are continually raising that topic. They're continually bringing it to the forefront of our minds and our press pages. So it's still good to have that repeated conversation, even if it is sometimes a little bit of a negative topic.
Yeah, I agree. Something that we saw in Positive Planet actually was we had a company come to us and say, actually, we really want to push forward after this government announcement because we want to tell our staff how important this still is to us as a company. So we saw that reaction, which obviously we were thrilled with. Jim, did you see anything change?
Yeah, I mean, it was so disappointing, but I just coming back to your last point, Emily, actions speak louder than words. Are you a company that's going to stand up and be counted? And let's not use the word company. Companies are run by people. So are you the kind of person who's going to stand up and be counted and make a difference? Or are you going to be a kind of person who does nothing because they don't have to? I'd rather put myself in the former camp. I'd rather do business with companies who are in the former camp. And I think ultimately consumers will vote with their feet. They're going to spend more money with companies that are doing good. We've seen it so many times. Companies that don't do good, they tarnish a reputation and they lose out in the marketplace. So get planting trees, get doing good, be a force for good, and you'll get more customers.
Amazing. Thank you. Well, I think we've got time for one more question, so we'll just go in with this one. How do we ensure credibility for partnerships in the nature-based solutions space? Who wants to take this one?
Can I
don't mind.
Yeah. Yep, you may. Go for it.
I think credibility, specifically when it comes to nature-based solutions, for what Anansi delivers, really comes down to how sound the science is. I think there's many historical times when maybe initiative comes out too fast with all the bells and whistles and unfortunately doesn't deliver on what it originally said it would. So I think there's a little bit of patience there. One, showing that you can vet the science and that people delivering it are doing well. And two, time. I think these solutions aren't something that necessarily can come overnight, but it's willing to invest in a long-term solution way after you may be there or not. That's kind of what my gut says.
Brilliant. Have you got anything to add to that, Jim?
Absolutely. For us, it's all about credibility. It's why we went down the B Corp route. We nearly bent the needle for a B Corp score. We're the highest scoring B Corp in our sector in the UK, a score of 128 because of all the land and wildlife compensation due. And it's really important to build that credibility. You've got to do what you say you're going to do. One thing that we can't do is the people we partner with, we can't guarantee their credibility. We know we're doing good things. We do get a little bit of challenge. Why are you working with these? Because they've done this, that, and the other. But we can't do that. So you've got to steer clear of that where possible. But yeah, get the ticks in the credibility box. B Corp's a great example, a real tight, stringent ESG solution that really forms all your governance internally that makes sure you're doing the right things for people and planet.
Brilliant. Well, I think we've run over slightly. I hope our audience forgives us for that one. But if we haven't had time to answer your question, we will reach out to you and try and answer that for you as well. Thank you all for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you all. So passionate about your organisations. It shines through. So thank you so much for giving your time to us today on the Positive Planet podcast.
Thank you, Emily.